The history of American imperialism dates back as far as the Founding Fathers do, when Thomas Jefferson stated that he was waiting for the fall of the Spanish Empire until our population can be sufficiently advanced to gain it from them piece by piece. When Mexico successfully gained its independence, it wasn't long before the US found the American Southwest in its hands after a war with the new country. Nearly 50 years later, after the US successfully defeated Spain in 1898, Jefferson's prophecy would once again come into play. One of the results of the Spanish-American War was that several Spanish colonies fell into American hands. Two of these were Cuba and the Philippines, and while the US made it clear that it wouldn't keep Cuba, the story of the Philippines was a bit different. Hi everyone, Thought Monkey here, and today I'll be talking about the Philippine-American War. The Philippines is a nation made up of many islands. During the age of exploration in the 16th century, the Portuguese explorer Ferdinand Magellan arrived on the islands and claimed them for Spain. Over the next 400 years, the Filipino people were subjugated to the rule of Spain, which had some ups and a lot of downs. Even before the US went to war with Spain and took possession of the Philippines, Filipino revolutionaries had already been struggling for independence from the big, bad Spanish Empire. And while at first many of them believed that the Americans were coming to liberate them from Spanish rule, it was clear that when they didn't allow the general of the revolutionary forces, Emilio Aguinaldo, and his troops to march to Manila alongside American troops, that the US had other ideas in mind. In October of 1898, a conference was held to determine the fate of the Philippines. The Americans were given three choices: to hand the islands back to Spain, to give the Philippines its independence, or to annex the territory. While many anti-imperialist Americans were against annexation and quoted President Lincoln when he said, "No man is good enough to govern another man without the other's consent," the fact is that those in power held a different view of the Philippines. President William McKinley believed that it was God's will for Americans to uplift and civilize and Christianize them, and believed that they were unfit for self-government. And finally, he believed that it would leave a power vacuum of which Germany or other rival countries may be quick to fill. On February 6, 1899, the treaty to annex went before the US and passed by one vote. The Philippines now belonged to the Americans. While the treaty was passed in the US, the Filipino revolutionaries were not quite happy with the idea. Fighting quickly erupted, and by June 2, 1899, the First Philippine Republic officially declared war against the United States. The war lasted 3 years and the US found victory. The Philippines were devastated by the war as it caused a breakdown in its infrastructure, causing hunger, disease, and displacement. Ultimately, an estimated 34,000 to 220,000 Filipinos were either injured or killed. The Roman Catholic Church was de-established as a state church, and English became the primary language among the government, business, and education. While the official war was over, fighting between different revolutionary groups in the Philippines and American forces continued for more than 10 years. The issue was not necessarily that the US wasn't going to grant the Filipinos independence, but more about when and under what conditions. In July of 1902, the Philippine Organic Act stated that upon peace, a legislative government would be created containing a lower house which would be popularly elected by Filipinos, and an upper house which would be appointed by the President of the United States. At home in the US, the public tended to consider the annexation of the Philippines as expensive and something that brought little profit. Moreover, Teddy Roosevelt said as early as 1901 that he wanted the Philippines to be able to self-govern, and by 1907 he said that he was ready to figure out a way to give the islands their independence. By 1916, the Jones Act was passed promising the eventual independence of the islands and created an elected Philippine Senate. And in the 1919 presidential election, Woodrow Wilson stated that his intention was to deprive ourselves of that frontier, the Philippines. In 1934, another act was signed promising Filipino independence in 10 years, but because of World War II, there was a 2-year delay, and the United States finally granted the Philippines independence in 1946. The question remains, however, did the US do the right thing when it annexed the Philippines over 100 years ago? If the Philippines hadn't been annexed, would they have been colonized by another global player?
Manila has the finest bay in the Far East, large enough to accommodate all the fleets of the world. We shall dock at Pier 7, a new double-decked concrete structure 1,000 feet long, built and maintained by the Philippine government.
Lawton Avenue is the main road in Fort Bonifacio, Taguig. It was named after the U.S. Army General during the Philippine-American War, Henry Ware Lawton. The start of Lawton Avenue can be found near Villamor Golf Club and ends near Manila Cemetery and Memorial. Lawton Avenue was widened by Department of Public Works and Highways, or known as DPWH, with a budget of 458 million pesos, which started last August 22, 2017, affecting 1.34 kilometers of Lawton Avenue. This project reduced the travel time of 40% from BGC to NAIA. There's a place in Oklahoma that is named after him, and another is in downtown Manila, which is formerly known as Plaza Lawton, now renamed as Bonifacio Square.
Francis Burton Harrison Avenue, more commonly known as F.P. Harrison Avenue, or simply Harrison Avenue, is a major north-south collector road in Pasay, Western Metro Manila, Philippines. It is a 4-lane undivided arterial running parallel to Ross Boulevard to the west and Taft Avenue to the east. From Pasay's border with Malate District in the north to Baclaran in Parañaque and in the south, the avenue is named for U.S. Governor General of the Philippines Francis Burton Harrison. Harrison Street has a length of 3.2 kilometers. The north end of the street leads to Pablo Ocampo Street and Mabini Street in Malate. The street passes to Hilpuyat Avenue, Arnaez Avenue, EDSA, and the north end leads to Aguara Street and Iquirino Avenue in Santo Niño. Harrison Avenue has a right-of-way width of approximately 25 meters. It is a public transportation or medium occupancy vehicle corridor which is frequented by intra-metropolitan jeepneys and mega taxis. This condition gives Harrison Avenue its relatively slow-moving, congested, and highly pedestrian character.
Taft Avenue is a major road sa south of Metro Manila. Pinangalan nito after kay former Governor General of the Philippines and U.S. President William Howard Taft noong panahon ng Commonwealth Territory of the United States. Nung kinokonstruct pa lang ito, ang tawag dati dito ay Calle Rizal. Natapos ito noong 1899 kasabay ng Padre Burgos Street o mas kilala natin ngayon bilang Pedro Hill Street. Pinamunuan ni Engineer Manny Aquino and Robin Santos yung pag-extension nito noong 1911.
President William McKinley of the United States was responsible for American colonial presence in the Philippine Islands. Through the Treaty of Paris of 1898, McKinley bought the Philippine Islands from Spain. The purchase made the islands an unincorporated territory of the United States. The military reservation south of the Pasig River was named in his honor. McKinley Road runs from Epifanio de los Santos Avenue to Fifth Avenue in Bonifacio Global City with a length of 1.9 kilometers or 1.2 miles. It belongs to the province of Metro Manila under the city of Makati and Taguig. McKinley Road has a residential character dominated by mansions with high walls and elaborate gates. In recognition to the noble role of the Filipino soldier in the defense of the country, then-President Ferdinand Marcos made sure that Fort Bonifacio became the home to the nation's defenders. Fort Bonifacio provided soldiers with decent, affordable housing. After the Americans turned over Fort McKinley to the Philippines, it was renamed Fort Bonifacio in honor of Andres Bonifacio, the Supremo of the Katipunan who ignited the revolution against Spain. American presence was still felt in the fort despite its new name. The main street leading to the fort was named McKinley Road, and a large tract of its land was kept as a cemetery for American soldiers who died in the Philippines during World War II.
To the westward towers Corregidor Island, above which hover perpetual banks of clouds. Almost every evening, the last rays of the dying sun stream through, so gorgeous that Manila's reputation for matchless sunsets pursues us to whatever port of call.